everybody. Welcome back to the Spotlight on Amputee series. Man, we are drawing to a close. Let me see, we've got three more episodes after this, and then we'll be wrapping it up for the season. We're going to go, like I said, I was planning on doing the fourth season, but what I think I'm going to do is we're going to hold off and, we're going to just basically enjoy time with our baby girl, that kind of thing, and just kind of more or less just be a family for a little bit. I'll still be putting out videos, that kind of thing, and, all that good stuff. So you guys will still be seeing me and, the family and that kind of thing. But as far as lives, there won't be a whole lot, but maybe some here and a little, here and there every so often. So let's jump right in. Let's say hello to some folks here. Mr. Backwoods, good seeing you, brother. Pigeon Mac, always good seeing you. Miss Susie Q, how you doing? All right. Now, most of you guys know that we had a pretty rough week. I've been sick. You can tell my voice is still kind of croaky. But the show must go on. So that's what we're doing tonight, baby. We're gonna rock on with it. Possum, good seeing you. So we like I said, we got hit really, everybody got hit in the house with sickness. Everybody sounds much like myself. We all sound all, talking through mud kind of. um and then storm after storm after storm. So it was just like me and tonight's guest. We're like, all right, I think we're good. Never mind, I'm sitting here in the dark. Damn it. And it's like, all right, wait a minute, I think we're good again. And then my camera stopped working. Like last night we tried it and it ended up being all just like, I was just like, and it was like frozen. And I was like, shit. And it kept doing that. So, God forbid that, or God willing that there's no storms, anything like that. I think we're good to go. So, like I much, my other guests that I have on here, I talk to a lot of folks, a lot of amputees, that kind of stuff that I find really, really interesting. People that, are out there doing it that, I'm not going to sit here and say, I've had a really rough life and it's not about that. It's just people that have overcame and just are still out there doing their thing and don't really give a shit what anybody else says or does or, and just still living their life. And tonight's guest is one of those people, man. He's somebody who's, he's done a lot and still continuing to do a lot. And he's going to tell us all about that himself and, just a little bit more of who he is and obviously how he himself became an amputee and joined us in this world that we all live in on this channel anyway. So with that, I want to bring up my friend and your new friend, Mr. James Lee. James, how are you, brother?
Hey there, how you doing, Josh?
Ah, man, I'm doing fantastic, doing great. There's no rain, there's no storms, my windows aren't rattling, so we're good. I think we're good tonight.
Yeah, we're down in Daytona Beach and we get some bad weather here every so often. Not the tornadoes like you guys get
Yeah.
quite often, but yeah, we get some pretty bad weather. So I was watching what was going on up there last night after you told me you didn't have power, and I was like, wow, this isn't going to happen, and
No.
it didn't. So there it was.
Yeah. I think what happened is, like, you and I were talking about this before, is with StreamYard, if you don't have a really good internet signal, or you keep getting knocked off and then, brought back online, knocked off, brought back, it'll do that. It'll freeze up. Your mic will act weird. Like, I don't know. It's not a perfect platform by any stretch, but I mean, it works. It gets the job done. And, that's what we use, but it's very, very temperamental. And I think that was a lot of our issues last night is with the internet, well, just everything. I was gonna say the internet getting hit by lightning, but everything pretty much. It just wasn't in the cards for us last night, brother.
No, but there's always tonight. So
Absolutely,
what do you want to talk
absolutely.
about, bro?
Well, I mean, you've watched a couple of the episodes. You've seen, kind of what we do here, and I was just, you yourself, like it's, I'll say on every guest that I don't like to tell other people's story. I like to let them tell their story themselves. That's kind of what we do. And I brought you on because after learning a little bit more about you and talking to you a little bit more, I found you super interesting, obviously, and I just wanted to see if you would be interested in telling your story to my audience and just kind of filling us in on one, what all has happened in your life, and two, a little bit about what you have lost in life, as far as like limbs and stuff like that, is what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. So, wow, what hasn't happened in my life? My name is James, 57 years old. I'm the father of four incredibly wonderful kids, a son and three daughters. Been married for 20, no, 32 years now. Um, and I have spent a life in service to others. I was a cameraman for many, many, many years. Did work with every network that there was as a freelancer. Spent a good number of years at the Weather Channel as a freelancer for them. I was Jim Cantori's like personal cameraman in hurricanes for about a dozen years or so. Uh, Worked with
That's
some
so
of
cool.
the three-letter agencies and the DoD and the DOT, filming things for them. And almost everything that I did took me to places where there was a tremendous amount of hurt. War zones, disaster areas, hurricanes, aftermaths of tsunamis and nobody's supposed to call me back. She might have just lost me there.
No, I got you.
Um,
You're good.
okay. Um, Guys, if you see me on live on YouTube, don't call me. That's should be a given. But anyway, if it was blowing down or blowing up, I was there. And through that, seeing people hurting, I became involved many, many, many years ago with disaster relief and humanitarian efforts, anti-human trafficking efforts, things like that. And I've always said, if you can catch a disease, if there's a disease you can catch from having been bit by a mosquito, I've probably caught it. And the one that almost did me in 2019 was West Nile virus, which I caught after going to the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian in 2019. Marsh Harbor in the Bahamas was torn up pretty badly. I mean, that's an understatement. They were devastated. I went down there and coordinated an airlift using donated business aviation and civil aviation assets. And I got bitten by a mosquito and I caught West Nile virus. It nearly killed me.
Wow.
And I survived that. I've survived malaria. I've survived all kinds of stuff. And in 21, in like June of 2021, I was doing a communications exercise with some ham radio operators. I've been a ham radio operator since I was like 12. And here in Daytona Beach, we were doing something called Field Day, which is a 24-hour communications exercise where you camp out and you're out in the heat and you are at all kinds of hard situations. And that weekend, I was having a really hard time staying up. Um, I just didn't feel right. I couldn't get enough to drink. I felt overheated. I felt exhausted. Usually I'm fine sleeping on the ground in the heat. And it was the middle of the night and I just like, I can't take this. I went up and got my Suburban and turned the heat or the air conditioner on in the Suburban so I could get some sleep. And the next morning I woke up and couldn't breathe at all. Um, I went to medical school when I was 40. Didn't graduate because of the 2009 bank failures. And but I had one of those pulse oximeter things you can put on your thumb,
Mm-hmm.
and it was by the bed in the bedside table, or in the drawer, and I got it out, and my oxygen saturations were way too low to be healthy in the 70s. Went to the hospital, And they were like listening. And they're like, "Hey, so dude, how long you had this heart murmur?" "I don't have a heart murmur." "Yeah, you do." "No, I don't." "Yeah, you do." Turned out my mitral valve failed, like boom, exploded. They don't know why. We think maybe because of West Nile virus, is what they call idiopathic, where and fulminant meaning idiopathic meaning they don't know why, fulminant meaning it happened like immediately. It wasn't a progression over time.
Yeah.
And it turned out that I was in congestive heart failure overnight. And um, because of COVID, the surgery was put off for about 6 months. And then, went in for surgery and had a horrible outcome. Um, Things happened that led to a cascade of events that led to me being in a coma for a couple months, in the hospital for about 5 months. And in the process, my fingers and each of my fingers and both of my legs died because of lack of blood flow and became black and like beef jerky and
Yeah.
they needed amputation. So I ended up with all four fingers here completely amputated. I don't know if you can see the part of the thumb there is just shaved off. They managed to get that to come back alive. And then on my
Ooh.
left hand, I've
Yeah.
lost pretty much most of my digits. So I call myself a dodeca amputee, meaning 12. You hear about bilateral, you hear about multiple, and I'm not trying to up any of the quad amputees who've actually lost their hands, but
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
12 things cut off. But I guess, technically they've had 12 things cut off plus two hands. So they're whatever 14 is in Greek.
Yeah.
So I don't
You'd be
know.
like, yeah, look at you with your fancy palms and everything. Come
Yeah.
on, get out of here, man.
I was just chatting with another amputee who is a quad amputee, and she's probably watching. And I realized, when my daughter came up with the name for my YouTube channel, which is No Limb Jim, that technically I still have some limbs, I guess,
Yeah.
but it was uh, her sarcastic uh, kind of humor, and she came up with it. I'm like, I think that'll stick, No Limb Jim. So the reason I got there is I honestly, when they told me I was going to be an amputee, first of all, I woke up from the coma, um, saw my hands. I had a trachea and I couldn't talk. My wife and kids weren't there. I had thought I had driven myself home from the hospital. And having been in med school, I knew from, my emergency medicine rotation that, hey, if somebody's in a wreck and their wife or kids or, husband is dead, you don't tell them that.
Yeah.
You wait. And I couldn't talk, but when the nurses came in and I was awake, they didn't tell me, oh, by the way, hey, your wife and kids are okay. Uh, they didn't know to tell me that my wife and kids were okay, or to know that I was thinking that possibly they had been in a wreck and there was a fire and they were dead. And man, Josh, I don't know how long it was. It was probably no more than an hour or two. But that was
Yeah.
going through my mind at first. And then um, when I came to grips with, and I will answer that question there in a minute, Deerfield.
Yeah.
Um, when I came to grips with that, I would be losing, I'd be an amputee. I didn't know what to think. I thought, what is life going to be like? And I went to YouTube and to the internet and looked. And I understand there are some really good amputee channels out there, like yours. Motivated One Legger is a good one. Yours is Motivated One Legger. Such Joy Amputee is a really good one.
Hmm.
But I didn't find you guys. I found stuff that really was like amputee women that were kind of catering to devotees.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not, I'm coming here looking for hope that I have a life left to live. And I'm getting hammered with this stuff. So I resolved that when I get out of the hospital, not if, but when I get out of the hospital, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and kind of just try to give hope. Which, right now, if you look at my YouTube channel, there's a lot of, I'm really upset with people parking in handicap spots. But
Yeah.
I realized that I have a platform and a voice to kind of advocate for people, which is kind of what I did with fighting human trafficking and helping out people in the worst days of their lives. But yeah, I didn't. I got out of hospital barely able to roll over in bed, and at one point they told my wife that I would never leave the hospital.
Oh
So
wow.
I overcame a lot. Overcame a lot of pain. Um, you know, Ended up when I was in the hospital having to be on Medicaid, and found out how horrible that is. So I can now have empathy for people who are going through that. I just day before yesterday, after over 3 years, my first wheelchair that insurance was supposed to pay for was delivered. After 3 years of fighting, and it turned out they had ordered
Wow.
the wrong wheelchair. So I still don't have it, but I've come to find out how many struggles we have as amputees, and realize that I've learned how to overcome. I've always been an overcomer. If you tell me I can't do something, I'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
And
Hey, watch this.
I'll bring that out to Deerfield with the question. How difficult is it to drive? Actually, I've flown a bunch of airplanes and high performance airplanes, and I've driven high performance vehicles, and I learned how to use a Chevy Suburban as a weapon with stuff I did over in Middle East. And I feel more at one with my Chevy Suburban. Well, I did, but it managed to blow its engine up and transmission the other day, so it's dead. But I felt more at one with that vehicle using hand controls and a spinner knob than any vehicle or airplane I've ever sat in. It's really was not hard to do. So I have the Sure Grip Featherlight rocker controls, or pull back. You
Hmm.
pull back to go, and you push forward to hit the brake. And it was just it took me about 2 hours of instruction to get where the driving rehabilitation specialist was like, "You're good to go. Let's go take your test." So really, it
Okay.
wasn't hard at all. If I were using a prosthetic to try to drive, I don't think I could do it. But I haven't even got prosthetics that I can walk on yet, so we're still dealing with that. But I,
Really?
I think, yeah, it took a long time to get the prosthetics. It took until I got Medicare, 2 years after, like 3 years after the insult. I got Medicare, got my first pair of legs, and took my first steps on Christmas Day, and found out that, oh yeah, I forgot I needed to have a knee replacement in 2022. That was in the works. So my right knee
Oh.
is bone on bone, and I can't walk. So now we are in the process of convincing Medicare that a guy with no legs who doesn't walk is a good candidate for knee replacement surgery. So it's just another one of those hurdles that you got to go over, and those battles that you got to fight.
Well,
Uh,
okay.
yeah,
Look at it like that. You actually walk around, and if you watch, and we're gonna like plug the absolute crap out of all your YouTube channels and everything else. So just give us a minute on that. But if you watch your channel and watch your videos and stuff, you'll see you plainly walking around, and as I said, walking around on your knees. So yes, you absolutely, if you would need a knee replacement, that is a mode of transportation for you. So you would think that they would be like a little bit more lenient on that and not be
yeah,
like,
we'll
well, I don't
see.
know.
We'll,
I
we'll,
mean,
we'll see. I don't know. We're waiting for them to give us an answer back.
yeah.
I
I
have
mean, those
a
are your feet essentially. I mean, let's just call it what it is, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, my knees actually, I don't have them on. They feel like they're on. I walk on my knees, and I wear the $49.95 a pair Husky gel knee pads
Sure.
from Home Depot. And actually found out from a guy who's in the IDF in Israel that they're made in Israel, and it's the same thing that the IDF Special Forces wear.
Very cool.
But they're very comfortable. When you're walking on them all the time, they only last about 5 or 6 weeks, and then you need to get more. So they're expensive, but they're a way to get around.
I
And
gotcha.
I don't have a wheelchair van. I was driving my Chevy Suburban with a Harmar lift on the back, using a motorized wheelchair that I bought off of Craigslist. Um, I'm hoping to get a manual wheelchair that I can push without fingers. The one that they gave me, not only was it the wrong size, way too big to fit through my doors, but
I gotcha.
it had like solid push bars on it that you couldn't get a thumb through. And I'm like, that's not what I asked for.
Yeah, they gave you a
No.
transport chair basically.
Well, I need a chair that I can push with like grab handles.
Yeah, like on
Not
the outside of the wheels and everything.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
thing had that, but they were solid. There was nowhere to put your thumb through. And I'm like, what? So, you
Um,
know, you I'm gonna say, people, a lot of people say, how do you do it? Well, first of all, faith in God, but just keeping a sense of humor.
for
I
sure.
make I make fun out of myself all the time. People get offended about me making fun of myself. How
Yeah.
could you say that? I'm like, because it's me, dude. It's my life. I can make fun of being crippled or whatever. If that offends your sensibilities, then too bad.
Yeah.
It's my coping mechanism. It's how I keep my sanity. Uh, you know, I go to the Abilities Expo. I don't know if you've ever been to those.
No.
Um, I've been to them several times with the YouTube channel, and the guy who runs the show, a guy named Lou, one show when I wasn't there and I was supposed to be, he was saying to his staff, he's like, I really thought Noah and Jim was coming, and they all got offended. Like, why would you call him that? And he's like, that's his name, you know. So even the disabled people have gotten offended at me being having humor about where I am. It's just, if we can't have humor about our situation, there's no there's no
You're doomed.
there's no
I
reason
mean,
to live life, man.
yeah.
I mean, why stay alive if you're going to be miserable all the time?
And that's really anything like, and not just limb loss. That could be with anything. What it is, just
Correct.
kind of a self-deprecating kind of attitude is always going to be. It's like I'm the first that's going to make fun of me, and you'll clearly see that it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I mean, look at the things that we've been through and the things that we've done, and not like, oh, way to go us. I'm saying like the stuff that we've dealt with. There's nothing you're gonna say that I'm gonna be like, oh, well, oh, you, how dare you? It doesn't exist, man. It's just it.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. I
Yeah.
mean, the first thing, oh, you're one-legged, whatever, blah blah. It's like, okay, you two-eared, whatever. I mean, you two-eyed, sob. I mean, you're just pointing out the obvious. I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah. There's
Not
some
my
guys,
fault you were
you
born
may
with
have
one
seen them
upper
on
lip.
Facebook. There's some guys they call themselves like the disability crew or something like that. They're over in Europe. And there's a midget and uh, a guy who's like totally paralyzed and all these different disabilities. And they make these hilarious videos making fun of themselves. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
you have to.
you got to. Yeah.
Yes, you absolutely have to, man. It's crazy to me. And back to your point about saying, real quick, I just want to say hello. We got folks coming in. I want to say hello. Blue Eyes, how you doing, dear? Good seeing you. Miss Kim Owsley, good seeing you as always. This is actually probably somebody you probably know from our Facebook groups and stuff. Let's see who here. Miss Jamie Parks, always good seeing you.
Yeah. Jamie was, I was chatting with her earlier.
All right, Miss Brookie, hello, dear. Backwoods. Yeah, we still got everybody hanging in. Awesome. Deerfield, good seeing you, brother. The Reckoning, what's up, my man? Good seeing you. I thought I saw you coming in. But back to what you were saying, people don't know how to take interactions with us as far as like dealing with people in public, that kind of thing. And what I mean by that is I go to a gas station that's not just down the road from me, and I'll go over there like in the morning to get gas or, coffee, whatever. And there's two black dudes that work in there, and those are my buddies. I love those guys to death, and every morning they're hilarious. I'll go in there, and I told them I got a YouTube channel, yada yada. Just got to chit chatting with them one morning, every single morning when I go in there, the first thing, what up, one leg? What's up, one leg? Oh,
Yeah.
one leg, my man. Like they'll come around the corner and just be like, what up, one leg? Like just so stoked to just see the one-legged dude. They know my name, but they always call me one leg, and I'll be talking to them. Just standing in line or something. And the person in front of them be paying for their stuff. They just be like, "What you up to today, one leg? Doing all right?" And this lady looked at him. She goes, "That is so rude." She's like, "Obviously, he has one leg. We get it. Why do you have to call him that?" She goes, "That's horrible. I can't believe y'all would do that." And I just stood there behind her, like going, and I kind of did like that.
Yeah.
I was like, "That's you see that motivated one legger," but I had to explain to her. I was like, I have a YouTube channel. It's Motivated One Legger. That's what I call. The whole title of it is, the whole thing. They're just shortening it, calling me One Leg, and then she just like, I'm just gonna get my stuff and leave. I don't even know what to say. I was like, don't worry, don't be offended, or like I'm so
Yeah.
embarrassed. It's all good, man. So yeah, I run into that kind of stuff as well, and it's always you never really know how to take it. You just kind of got to be like shrug it off. For one, don't get offended. Just straight up, don't get offended. So what? Who cares? You're pointing out the obvious.
Yeah. I mean, no, I don't get offended by anything anybody says. I've always been one. We homeschooled our kids from the beginning until the end, and now they're all like engineering students and high achievers. Um, so everything is a teaching moment. So it's you're at Walmart, you always see a kid who's like looking at you and wanting to say something, and the mother's like, "No, don't say so." And my wife usually will notice them before I do, and she'll be like, "No, he can ask a question," or
Yeah,
that she can ask, and the parents are just mortified. And it's like, so you know, uh, let them ask their questions.
absolutely.
They're legit questions. The only thing I think I've ever gotten upset about was the parent who used me as a reason to scare their kid into eating their vegetables, and I opened both barrels on her. I was
I
like,
say that too.
don't use me for that. You're lying to your kid. I was like, no, dude, this happened because something happened that shouldn't have, but it wasn't because I didn't eat my broccoli.
Yeah,
Don't use me as a lie to get your kids to do something. But Josh, I think the biggest takeaway from my life is that becoming an amputee is not the end of your life. You can let it become the end of your life if you get really upset about it and sad, and let it go. Oh, I have no worth.
yeah,
I have a lot of worth. And I'll pause. There are moments in every day since I woke up in early 2022 that I go, why, God? Why did this happen? I did everything that you asked me to do, and you still let this happen. And then I snap out of it. But I'd lie if it's lying to say that every day is just roses and sunshine, because it's not.
yeah,
There are struggles. I'm sitting here doing this with my hands. You might be seeing me fidget and kicking my legs. I am in pain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
man.
Narcotics don't touch it. Gabapentin doesn't touch it. Medical marijuana didn't touch it. Nothing touches it. And that is a fact of life that I am having to deal with. And in the last couple of weeks, around 9 o'clock at night, I'm getting these electric shocks that send me through the roof. So there
Really?
are issues that are tough. It's tough. Is it tough to try to open a bottle of water without fingers? Yes. I would say that Jamie Parks probably has a harder time than I do. And Jamie, don't be offended. I'm not trying to say, oh, you've got it worse than me. We all have our challenges, but we all find our ways of dealing with our challenges. And I think that's what has kind of made this group of at least amputees that I've come to know. There's another one called One Footed Phoenix, Amanda out in Utah. You know,
Okay.
sure, her leg was amputated voluntarily because of pain, something that happened on her LDS mission trip. And we all have our reasons for why we became the way we are. And we can either choose to just let it define us and end our lives, or we can say, I'm going to find a way to continue to live my life. You know,
Yeah.
can I do the same things I used to do? No, but I did deploy to the mountains of North Carolina to help run the airlift for Hurricane Helene. I didn't go all the way downrange into where it was affected, and I ran the show from, where the airplanes were staging, but I still get to do what I did, and I still get to be helpful, and I still get to live my life. So it's not the end of your life when this happens, unless you decide to make it the end of your life.
No,
And just don't do
absolutely
that.
not. No, that's my whole thing. I always say is, so what? Yeah, you lost your limb. We lost this. You got, so what? Yeah, life is difficult. It's going to be more harder to do things now, and it's going to be way more challenging. The simple little tiny things that you going to pee is now going to be
Oh my
way more
goodness.
challenging. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the
How many
littlest
times I
things
have
that
peed on the
everybody
wall
takes
because
for
it missed.
granted,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the things that, so what? So what? That's it. You're still here. You're still breathing. I'm sitting here talking to James right now. And that's just, I look at that kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, this happened, but hey, I got this and that's all right. That ain't so bad. When I got sick and everything, again, talking about yourself during somebody else's interview is kind of
Go
faux pas,
ahead. This
but,
is about life.
um, we had,
What's that?
house, cars,
Yeah,
super
be an inspiration.
successful, we had, business, everything was going really good for us. Young couple out there, brand new life, just getting up on our feet, doing our thing. My We found out I was sick. I have what's called Berger's disease, which stems from smoking cigarettes. It's a hyper sensitivity to nicotine, and it poses itself as much like yours. It looks a lot like frostbite and that kind of stuff, where you get the black fingers and the black
Yeah.
toes, and and little by little, I've had multiple amputations and that kind of stuff. Um, but this, I mean, all of our journeys are different, as far as like what we do and the things that that we try to convey and the things that we put out to the world. And I want to put out as much positivity and that kind of stuff as I possibly can. And if anybody wants to ask questions, if they want to, look and that kind of stuff, then I totally invite them to do so.
You're right. My wife Michelle just walked through the room and she's like, be an inspiration. And I do see a lot of comments on amputee groups, and I get it. I do get it, guys. That when somebody comes up to you and goes, wow, just seeing you really, makes me realize that my day isn't so hard. And in a way,
Yeah.
I know that's tacitly saying, hey, dude, your life sucks, mine doesn't.
Yeah.
But if I can somehow inspire somebody to reach for something more than they already are reaching for, if I can inspire somebody to live their life a little bit better or to try a little bit harder because of what I'm going through, then I look at that God said, hey, I count you worthy, that you could be that inspiration for somebody to bring them up to the next level. So I look at it that way.
Yeah.
And, I did a lot of things through my life. Um, Things that people would go back and go, why in the world would you put yourself in that situation? Why in the world did you, voluntarily go all over the world to help find kids who were being sex trafficked? Why would you catch malaria multiple times? Why would you do all of this? And now look at you, dude. You've lost your limbs and your life sucks. And well, it doesn't suck, but I realized, and I told somebody this the other day. I've said it before. If in 2000 or 1993, when I was first married, 1993, and I was 26 years old, 25, 26 years old, if you told me that everything that I did over the next 30 years, or nearly 30 years at that point to 2021, if you told me that that was going to lead to me losing my legs and my fingers and having my life turned upside down, I would say I'd do it again. It's worth it
Yep.
because I lived my life with a purpose. I lived my life, years ago. I read a book called The Purpose Driven Life. So I leave that one up so I can read it here in a second, Josh.
Yep. No problem.
Um, I read that book, A Purpose Driven Life, and I tried to live my life with purpose. And is there a cost to that? Yeah, there is. You'd be lying if you. I mean, let me go back. Would I say that I wish this didn't happen? Yeah, I do wish this didn't happen. It'd be nice to be back to where I was. But if it had to happen, I'm okay with it. And if it happens so that it can help bring somebody else out of the muck and the junk that they're in, then so be it. I mean,
Yep.
that's the way I look at it. And see, Jamie says everything happens for a reason. Thank you, Jamie. Uh, it's just the way I've tried to live my life. It's the way I've tried to live my life to be um, to see the bigger picture, to see um, the greater good. You think from that movie years ago, The Incredibles or whatever. Where's my super suit? Like I need my super suit. It's for the greater good. And but it's true. It was for the greater good. My
Yep.
It wasn't just me that went through this. It was my wife and children.
Absolutely.
My
100%.
children, my children. This happened during final exams at college.
Oh, wow.
And what my son had professors that said, "No way, take your exams." My daughter had professors that were like, "Hey, no problem. You got an A already anyway." Um, and it has been tough on them. I mean, it's been really tough on our oldest daughter. I
Yeah.
think it changed her career path. She wanted to be a doctor, and that's gone after seeing me. She's gone on to another career path. I mean, she's graduated college. She's working. But from the time she was a kid, she wanted to be an MD. And I think seeing me in the hospital and hearing the doctors, because I had a team of doctors that was numbered in the hundreds. It wasn't just like five or six.
Man.
At one point, they told my wife, without saying it, they told my wife I was the sickest person in the country. And I had like three
Man.
nurses all the time, but they saved my life. But it was a lot of work to save my life. And I can say that when I was in the hospital, I wasn't as happy as I am now because, I
Yeah.
was looking at what was going on in the hospital and I was just like, not angry about what was happening to me, but angry because, I hadn't had a drink of water in 3 months and I couldn't have water and stuff like
Yep.
that. I mean, it's simple things. I had to learn how to swallow again. I had to learn how to swallow. It's babies are born knowing how to swallow. How do you
Yeah.
forget how to swallow? And I told my wife a few
That's
months
so
ago,
wild to
I said,
me.
I don't even remember what it was like to walk. I don't remember that. I don't remember what it took. And when I got out of it, when I stood for the first time, I'm like, how do I stand? I'm just sitting there trying to just lift with like I've been doing deep knee bends like I used to do all the time. I guess maybe I used to stand up just without reaching behind me and pushing up, but that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
I weigh a lot more than I used to, and I haven't stood in 3 years, so I'm a lot weaker than I was.
I gotcha.
I mean, the struggles. I guess I'm just rambling, but the struggles are tough. They're real, but in a way, they're motivational. Every
Absolutely.
time you overcome something, every time I overcome something, there is uh, that like, yeah, I did it. I
Yeah.
did. You know, learning how to, I mean, simple things like how do you wipe your butt when you don't have fingers?
Yeah.
And I'm going to have somebody do that every day of my life for the rest of my life. And then a lady, and I'm gonna just call her out, Lori Cecil. She saw a Facebook post about a GoFundMe that we had years ago, and she was a certified driving rehabilitation specialist and an occupational therapist. And she contacted me on Facebook, and she said, "I don't have the money to help you out, but A, I can teach you how to drive, and B, I can help you figure out some things around the house." And she brought over some things. You know, I never got a toilet chair from my insurance.
What?
Never. She brought over one that she paid for with her own money. And then she's like, "Here, you can use this little bidet thing." I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." But I figured out, you know, how I could like wrap a baby wipe um, to make it work. You know, and here's something. I have had literally people give me a hard time for drinking smart water. What makes it so smart? Well, you know what makes it so smart is that I can do this and the bottle doesn't collapse and spill all over me.
Yeah.
Because of this, we're protecting the environment. And I get it. We're trying to be good stewards of the world. But being good stewards of the world sure is discriminating against people who have issues with their hands. And I'm sure there's a
Agreed.
lot of people on here who are watching who can hit that like button and say, "Yes, you're right." You know, there's simple things like that that you just have to relearn how to get through the day and live. And you know, I'll say I'm wearing a hat that says Flight Ops 8 ESP. That's a system I developed after I lost my hands and my feet. And not only did
Really?
I develop it, I built it. It's electronics. It requires soldering and you know, I'm bringing it to market, and the government's talking about wanting to buy it. Uh, you know, you can still figure out ways to do things.
Of course. Yeah. For
You know,
sure.
can I work a real job? No, nobody's gonna hire me,
Well,
but
yeah. I mean,
you know, I can find a way to still have purpose.
yeah. Um, something I was curious about as far as like, I mean, so with you didn't really lose like, okay, a finger, and then now this finger, and now this. It was pretty rapid, like as far as like this is gonna have to go, and this, and this, and this. Like basically, they show
Yes,
you one of those charts of your body that says, you know, the lines drawn on it, those horrible forbidden lines where they draw it right through the limb, and they have you sign off on it.
I didn't
Ugh.
see the lines, but probably because I didn't have glasses. My eyes were open when I was in a coma, and my corneas got scarred, so I have trouble seeing, and I couldn't see at all.
Gotcha.
Just blurriness. So I don't know if they drew lines. My legs were amputated on February 8th of 22, and then they waited several months to do my fingers because they wanted to wait for that line of demarcation of where was the necrosis going to stop and
Yeah.
would any of the black skin fall off and leave some scar tissue. And that's what happened with my thumb. I mean, the blackness came all the way down to here, but it
Yeah.
somehow miraculously grew back.
Yeah. That's
Um,
much the
then,
same as it is on my right foot. My right foot basically is doing that.
yeah.
So I was like, that's my toes. I got my pinky and my big toe, and that's it. All the middle's gone. So it's
So
like
you're
scooped
the
out.
motivated two-toer, I guess,
A
right?
two toer. That's right.
Yeah, there you go. Got a new name for your
One
channel.
leg, two toes. Look at me
Yeah.
go.
Um, so yeah, it's the left hand was amputated, I believe, in June, all in one, gone, and then the right hand in July, and then they did a revision in August on my right my right thumb and my right pinky,
Okay.
and went a little bit further because they tried to like to save the nail, but the nail bed was dead and the nail was just falling off, and I was like, this hurts, just cut it
Yeah.
off. So that was, and then the pinky actually had part of the nail bed growing out in the middle, and it was just
Oh
not,
wow.
it wasn't usable. So I was like, if it's not usable, cut it off. So I've had, gosh, since December 8th of 21, hundreds of surgeries.
Yeah.
I mean, they were operating um in my room.
Dang.
It was crazy.
You know,
I don't remember any of it, but um
tried to explain that to people before with, the amount of time that I've stayed in the hospital, much like yourself. It's like I've literally just, I mean, through pictures and stuff, it's like I've seen nurses' kids grow up, like get older
wow.
while I'm in the hospital. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, we had, whatever, Mary Ann's birthday was this month. And, it's just like, this month, dude? Oh my God, did you really just say that? It's like, yeah, they're getting ready to start school. And it's like, that's in like 3 weeks. You know what I mean? And it's like, and you're probably still going to be here in that time.
Wow.
So, yeah, those long, long like residencies at the hospital, where you honestly feel like I live here. I always hated those, and
That was
unfortunately, that's kind of a norm for folks like us. Not maybe not
well,
that long, but
the
when you
five
get
month
checked in, you're
stay.
gonna be there a while.
The 5 month stay was uh until the other day the toughest thing I'd done in my life.
Yeah, exactly.
And then trying to pee in a CRJ uh, bathroom on a plane was much harder because I once I got the door closed and got done, I couldn't get the door back open because I'm sitting there on my knees and the door is hitting my back as I'm trying to open it. I'm like,
It's
great,
like a lobster trap.
they're not going to be able to land the plane because I'm not in my seat. Uh,
Oh man. So,
yeah.
oh wow.
Yes, and that was the first trip I had taken on my own flying. I've driven cross country multiple times. I flew to Europe with my daughter back last October, and she did some stuff over there for a week, and I spent a week tooling around Krakow, Poland, and doing that
Cool.
amputee, riding the train. I rode it out to see Auschwitz and Birkenau, the concentration camps.
Yeah.
Tried to ride to Austria and found out that even though Deutsche Bahn sells you a ticket and says that there'll be, yeah, you talk to us about needing a wheelchair assistance, and you get there and the guy speaks only German, and he's like, nope, no wheelchair assistance, and the train leaves without you. I just got my money back from them like last week for that trip.
Thanks
So
for nothing, y'all.
you hear about how hard stuff is hard, but you just you deal with it and you learn how to make it work.
Yeah.
What I've done. So I
I,
don't know how you typically do the last few minutes of your show, but I'm happy to answer questions. If anybody has questions, um, I'm pretty much an open book.
I
And
mean, generally we just kind of wrap until right up to the last few minutes. Like I said, I have questions upon questions and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's usually, and then I'll drop you down, do a little wrap up, and then that'll be that, and we'll be
feel
out.
free, anything else you want to know. I mean, uh, I think I've kind of given a synopsis of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
it's
absolutely. Have you ever checked into like prosthetics for like the hands, anything like that, like
Oh,
for the
dude, yeah,
fingers or
yeah.
anything?
Actually, yeah, I got there's a video, some videos on my YouTube. Uh, the people at vocational rehab gave me a bionic hand,
Cool.
and it is myoelectric. So you by moving your fingers, you can cause a claw kind of fingers, a set of fingers, open and close.
Right.
And had they told me that I could do the same kind of movements and have a tool that would be like a ratchet, I would have been like, yeah. But this thing really, the only thing it helps me do is hold a bottle of water or
Okay.
hold like my camera's being held by a DJI gimbal.
Yeah.
Because I used to be a cameraman, I still do stuff for YouTube, so I can hold my camera with it. It's not as helpful as I thought it would be. I thought it would
Gotcha.
be like Luke Skywalker individual finger control,
Yeah, the
and stuff
like
like that. Elon Musk is doing stuff with his Neuralink that eventually they'll get there to individual finger control.
yeah.
But
I was going to
I
ask you
haven't
about that.
I haven't done that. If he wants to send me to space or do that with me, I'd be happy to do it. Uh,
I'm in. Let's do it.
my daughter's on, probably going to be an astronaut, and I was like, I want to get there before you do. So
I hope she is. I pray to
yeah,
God that she is. That's, I
I think
mean,
she will. She's been working hard at it for since she was 6,
hey,
and yeah,
then keep going. Just keep going. That's all you got to
keep
do. That is the
keep
key to
going.
life.
Yeah.
Keep going.
She's an 18-year-old electrical engineering master's student, so she's doing something right.
Right on. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. That is awesome. Well, if you're listening to this, keep kicking ass. Keep going. Motivated One Legger and his whole crew right here are
Yeah,
all
I
behind
think
you.
I
Keep
think
doing
she's
your thing.
off at school. So yeah, we got all 4 of our kids still live at home, which is cool. Our oldest daughter, who's not the oldest, graduated from college last year and got a job nearby. And we had moved to Daytona Beach because 3 of our kids are in school in Daytona Beach,
Okay.
and our one daughter's working like right by Daytona. But uh, man, dorms for 3 kids in dorms, you're talking 50 grand a year. And
Yeah.
you can rent a house a whole lot cheaper than 50 grand a year. A
I
whole
was
lot
about to way
cheaper.
undershoot it. I thought you said 50. I was like, good Lord, that's way more than I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, they go to the Embry Riddle, which is an expensive school. Thankfully, they've all got they've all got scholarships to
Oh,
cover everything.
yeah.
Jamie doesn't use her arms or hooks either; too heavy. Yeah, I think talking about the Mayo electric hands,
Mm-hmm.
if they had explained to me what they were or what they would do ahead of time, I would have rethought it. They also gave me silicone fingers to put on my right hand that do nothing but just look like a weird, strange hand.
Yeah.
And they required me to take them. And um, so before I lost my Medicaid, they gave me a right leg, like a basic right leg. And they
Okay.
told me that my left leg was not indicated, that it wasn't medically necessary. And this was like the day before I lost Medicaid. And that was in 22 or 23. And they gave me this right leg, and they said, we had appealed it, and they said the appeal was reviewed by a board certified doctor, and their board certification was obstetrics and gynecology. I'm not kidding. They denied the said that this guy doesn't
Wow.
need or 2 legs. He only has one. He can manage with one. Obviously, I couldn't.
Yeah.
But they gave me a left leg that was 4 inches taller than the right leg. But they gave me 12 days notice and said, hey, you've got to get up to Columbus, Ohio to have this hand built. And your prosthetics guy has got to make this left leg that's the wrong size. And you have to take this silicone fingers, which are useless, and were like $14,000.
What? No.
And
No. No. No.
and
No.
if you don't take everything, you get nothing. And a lot of people don't like Doge and Elon Musk, but they wasted close to $100,000 just for me to get a myoelectric hand on
But
stuff
we're here to help you, James. We're here
that I
to help you,
couldn't
sir. I mean,
do.
come on.
I couldn't use. I'm not. I don't want to sound unthankful,
No, I know. I
but
know. I
why
know what you
tell
mean.
somebody that you have to take something that is useless? Why can't you just say I'm not being unthankful, but I'll never use this? Because when you put those fingers on, not only does it look really eerie and scary,
Yeah.
it is useless. I
Yeah.
can't
Because
I
a
can't
lot of them are
drive
just
with it.
like, you
It's
know,
just
like,
it's just like, hey, I have a hand. And yes, it looks weird.
see, now I've seen the ones, I have my daughter's water bottle here. I've seen the ones like for yourself. A good buddy of mine that works, he's actually, he works for the prosthetist office that I go to. But on his left hand, He lost. I forgot what it was, but something. It pretty much went straight across, and it took every bit of this off with it. Well, he doesn't have anything that can move, anything like that. But what his is basically a glove that goes on over it. He's still got his thumb, and it sits like this. Like here, let me see if I can
Yeah,
do like that, you know, and he can like pop it into and to hold it, you know, but at the same time he's got to be like and like pop it out of it. So it's just kind of more or less like a vice that'll just kind of hold stuff.
yeah. The my electric hand is sort of like that, in that it curls around like that, and that's all it does. Is all four fingers either go in and out. You can't individually address them, so you can hold a cylinder, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's what, that's insane. Government waste.
It is insane, Blue Eyes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's and but then they say there's not enough money to actually give you what you do need.
yeah. That's it. Cosmetic is not useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a gentleman out there, much like yourself. I'm sure you've seen it, but he has like the hand that he made himself, but all he does is like bends his wrist and stuff, and his hands will like collapse. And if you haven't, I can't think of his name, but
I
I
have
know I
not
have.
seen that. I've
Like
seen the naked prosthetics, which they won't cover because they say naked prosthetics. If you know, they're those ones that are controlled by your finger motion.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those are not covered by Medicare, and because they're not covered by Medicare, they won't be covered by uh, vocational rehab because they say those are cosmetic. But the actual
I
cosmetic
see.
fingers they will cover. You can't make it up. you can't you can't make it up.
My God, man. Yeah, that's it's crazy the things that they deem necessary for us. You know, it's like I know what's
Uh,
good for you. I've never met you, James. I don't know you at all, but I know everything that works. It's this is gonna be perfect for you. It's like what? Like
yeah,
make that make
and
sense. That don't even sound normal, you know?
well, no, it's not normal, and but that's the way that we work, and insurance works, and Medicare works, and
Unfortunately.
one of the things that I'm going to do is take uh, a lot of what I've learned and try to become a world changer for that. Either through lobbying Congress or becoming getting elected. I don't know that I want to do that, but I didn't go through this to just sit there and lick my wounds. I went through it, and today I had an encounter with a police officer who parked in a handicap spot, and when I nicely mentioned it, he got belligerent with me, and people are like, "Well, you should just drop it." No, because there's people who are less capable than I who uh,
Yeah.
um, aren't able to take that fight. So I've
100%.
always been one who will stand up for the rights of others instead of something you're really needing as a waste of insurance, denying certain things. Oh yeah, yeah, you give us something you don't need. I mean, dude, like I said, I never got a toilet chair. I never got a toilet
Yeah,
chair.
that's
Uh,
crazy.
and I had my Medicaid in Florida. We have managed Medicaid, which is
Uh-huh.
like HMO, and my patient advocate. I was angry one day, and I said, I bet you guys have actuaries that run the numbers on how many people you can cause to die versus how many losses you have to pay out and still make money. And she goes, I
Yeah.
shouldn't say this on a recorded line, but yes, we do.
My
And I
God.
was like, God, you cannot make this up. Of course, I did a FOIA request, and that recorded line is not available. But yeah, she,
My God.
yeah,
That's what I
uh,
like what Backwoods says. He's like, good Lord, man, liquid latex in a mold is cheap.
yeah.
You can literally
So
buy liquid latex, the same stuff that they use to make our legs at Home Depot. I'm not kidding.
yeah,
I've asked the prosthetist myself. He's like, it's a 3M product, same thing you get at Home Depot, Ace Hardware. He's like, we don't get ours from Home Depot, but it's the same exact thing. It's just in a different can that says for medical use, blah blah blah. But
Yeah,
it's
it
the
costs
same thing.
300% more.
Yeah, well, touche, my friend. And it don't come
Yeah,
in a cool can. It's just a white can.
yeah, it's
They took away all the cool advertising.
yeah. But I really like my prosthetics guy. His name is Alistair Gibson.
Good deal.
Um, uh, I understand. Did you ever see that movie, The Dolphin Tale?
Yeah, absolutely.
I understand he's the guy who invented that. Um, no, he's not the guy who invented the leg. I think he's the guy who invented the sleeve.
Okay.
And like so, all those really cool sleeves that we use with the pinlock sleeves and all that,
Mm-hmm.
the silicone ones that don't rub and are nicer.
Yeah.
Apparently he's the guy who invented it, and he's a good guy. I consider the prosthetics guy that I worked with has been incredible, and uh, I'm happy with him.
Before we go, do you want to give them a shout out? I mean, say it
He's
right
at,
here, loud
he
and
is
proud, my
at
brother.
his name is Alistair Gibson. He's at Tropical Sky Prosthetics, Orthotics and Prosthetics in Maitland, Florida, but they've got offices all over the Orlando area.
Okay.
But Alistair, there's a lot of them, but he's one of the owners, and he's just like when I got my hand and we went up to Oser in Columbus,
Mm-hmm.
they were like the way they acted was like God had walked in the room. Like
Gotcha.
he's one of the top hand people in the world, and um, he's been real good with trying to get me to where I can get the naked prosthetics for my right hand because right now he can't get them approved. They're not approved by Medicare.
Even if it's just one, or like, see,
Well, like
I've never dove into that as far
I
as
would
like,
get I
okay,
would
I'm a
get one for
double.
each of these two fingers and one for my thumb, and
Yeah.
then this one would be one for two fingers. Um, and they're apparently not that expensive, in the tens of thousands or
Gotcha.
low tens of thousands as opposed to 120 some thousand for a myoelectric.
Yeah.
Or those will give you individual digit opposition with your thumb and more that you could do. You can, like some people, Jamie said she has the myoelectric one. When I go to close my myoelectric, I squeeze right here. And if I do that and I squeeze, it goes, it's not a quick, I can't catch a ball with it. I can't do anything like that. It's a,
And there's not
the-
adjustments they can make for it.
no, no, no.
Wow. You
It's
would think
either
it's like a,
slow or really slow.
okay. Gotcha. Um, you said it was like an older one. Is it maybe just something like they can replace some of the motors in it or something?
No,
Like
it's
the
not an older
servos?
one. They built this thing last July.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood. I'm sorry. I thought you said that like you were testing somebody else's older one that they had.
No, no,
I
no, no. This
apologize.
this it is custom built for your hand.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay,
They
yeah,
take you up there. They find the points to put the electrodes on your skin. Like mine, I have an electrode here, and then there's one here, and then there's a ground down here.
yeah,
There was a lady there at the same time who was born with. She had a hand, but really teeny fingers. I forget what they call it, microdactyly or something like that.
yeah,
And they built one for her, but her points were up on her arm. Like she would turn, squeeze those muscles to open
yeah,
and close it. So there's different ways that they can do it. Jamie might be able to chime in and say, since she has them and she doesn't have hands, they probably picked up on up there. But again, they're heavy. Um, I'm not allowed to drive with it. It's against the law to drive with it. Every time I put it on, I've got to put hand sanitizer on.
yeah. I
So
was wondering about that because you can't release the wheel in time. Like once
yeah,
it like locks on, I mean
correct.
you're kind
Can't
of
can't
stuck there.
can't drive with it. So
Holy crap! I've never even thought about that. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, that makes perfect sense because you wouldn't be able to be like, oh no, and release. It wouldn't work like that.
Yeah,
So
oh no, start, release, crash, you're dead.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You wouldn't have time to. I mean, you're basically holding the wheel the entire ride. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, wherever that ride takes you is, but you're still going to be holding that steering wheel the entire time. Oh my God, I never even thought about that. That's
Well, for me, it
wow.
wouldn't be the steering wheel. It's the brake control and the throttle.
Well, yeah.
And that throttle is so sensitive because of the electronic throttle. It's so sensitive that if you don't have that feedback from the tactile feedback from your hand, I mean, you can. I mean, I tried it in the parking lot
Hmm.
when I got the hand, and almost immediately backed into a wall because the throttle just got hit so hard. I'm like, no, forget it. And I found out it's against the law to drive with it anyway.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, again, after really, you and I discussing that, yeah, I would hope so because I mean that would make sense. It's way more safer. I mean, yeah, that's because you're
Yeah,
almost essentially. I mean, you're not, but you're essentially driving impaired. When you really think about it, if you want to get technical about it,
yeah.
you're
I
not
mean, that
drunk,
would,
but it's still you're very much impaired.
yeah, that would probably be counted as driving impaired. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a stretch, but hey, whatever. But well, Mr. James, is there anything that you would like to share with my audience as
Yeah, my
something
wife's
that
giving me no.
one last parting word before we split ways and
Uh,
I cut you loose, you go on about your life.
my wife's brought up. Did I bring up about the wheelchair and not being able to get into the doctor table? Yes, I have not brought that up. I will bring that up.
Go ahead.
Um, I am strong enough now, and I figured out how to climb up into a doctor table. But when I first was out of the hospital and would go to the doctor, most doctor tables are several inches, 8, 10, 12 inches taller than a wheelchair.
Right.
And you can't climb up in them. And I was trying to get what do you call it, a motorized wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
And Medicaid was like, no, we won't pay for a lift. And they ended up not giving it anyway, but uh, they wouldn't allow me to pay for a lift. Yeah, my wound, I needed, because I've got a wound where uh, some tubing got ripped out of me when they put me in the ambulance
Oh
to go
wow.
to another hospital. And I got a wound that they needed to check. So they couldn't really get down there to palpate it because it's in my groin. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but like having a wheelchair that goes up and down, a lift to go up and down, Medicare wouldn't cover that. So if Medicare won't cover it, your insurance won't cover it. I joined that fight that was actually won, that Medicare will now pay for a lift
Mm-hmm.
if people need it. Because I mean, imagine trying to go to the doctor and not being able to get on the table, or imagine going to the doctor in a hospital and having explosive diarrhea, and there are no family bathrooms or no tables because at that time I was not even able to go sit on a toilet. I was still, freshly out of the hospital, and I'm literally sitting in the cardiologist's office pooping myself in tears. Um, the nurses and the people at the doctor's office were incredible and they were apologetic, but you don't think about these things. Hey, here's something I'll say. I'm going to look in the camera. If you are not in a wheelchair and you use the wheelchair accessible stall when there's other stalls available, you're an asshole. Don't do it,
100%.
because I deal with that every day, and you probably do too. And a lot of times it's a store employee that's gone into like the handicapped single bathroom, and
Yep.
they're in there for 20 minutes on their cell phone, and they come out and they just look at you like, well, sorry. And that's something that really gets me going.
They're hanging
Uh,
out and they're clock dodging. That's what we
they're
call it.
clock dodging. Um, you know, don't do that.
Yeah.
I
That's
get
a
it. Some
scumbag
people are
move.
like, I'm claustrophobic. Well, you know what? Deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm not claustrophobic, but I physically cannot get in that other stall.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a need to be in there and there's another stall and you choose to go in there, I won't use the word again, but you're a jerk and don't
Yeah.
do it. I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that will agree with me, and maybe there's some people who are like, well, there's some disabilities aren't visible. So no, I get that,
Yeah.
but those disabilities don't require that extra room.
No.
That's me making that point.
No. If
So
you have, much like myself, I have PTSD. I don't need a larger bathroom to go pee, I mean, I don't require more space. Why the hell? Just because I'm a person that would, that sports that handicap placard, that don't necessarily apply everywhere you go, brother. That's not like the handicap bathroom and the handicap. Well, I'm handicapped. I can sit at this table and this side. No, dude.
well, I've always I've said like Waffle House is bad about this. A lot of Waffle Houses will have the handicap spots down at the other end of the parking lot from the front door.
Yep.
And I actually held the door open for a guy who parked in the handicap spot. Older gentleman, was walking just fine, had a little bit of a limp, and he parked all the way down at the end when every other spot was open. And I held the door open for him. I was like, all the other spots right in front of the door were open. Like he could have parked there. When he got out of his vehicle, he stepped up on the curb. He didn't have to use the curb cutout. None of the things that people throw out as a, well, what if you don't know, it's hidden. The guy could handle walking. He could handle uh, climbing up the step. And I'm like, why don't you just park down here where it's a little bit closer? I notice you're limping. Why don't you just, oh, well, I've got the handicap sticker. I'm supposed to park down there. And I think a lot of people who get the handicap placard do think that they're supposed to park there.
Yeah,
And
no.
there's education that needs to come, and there's a stewardship of that placard that needs to happen. If there is room out in a parking lot with, sorry, my nose is running. It is pollen season in Florida.
You're
If
all
there,
good.
if there is, I saw a video today of a pine tree being cut down, and like when it fell, like um,
All that
white
yellow
or
goes
yellow
everywhere. I
everywhere.
saw it too.
Um,
I've seen it
you,
before.
when you get the placard, you should be taught about stewardship of it. And if there's a wide open parking lot like a Sam's Club, I'll just go park and take two spots because I need that extra room. I can't get out of my vehicle if there's not room to open the door all the way.
Yeah.
Um, and I actually had gotten, oh, sorry, I had gotten a nasty note put on my door more than once about taking two spots. But I have a motorized wheelchair. Even if when I have a push wheelchair, I'm physically capable to go the extra distance.
Yeah.
I need the space. But if there's room in a parking lot, I try to leave the handicap spot for people who actually can't walk. But when I see
Oh,
people
yeah.
like at Walmart, they'll park at a handicap spot when there's like seven spots closer to the door, and they walk from the whole other side of the parking lot. I'm like, why are you there? So there's your public service announcement. I probably stepped on some toes, which is hard to do without fingers. I mean,
That's
without feet. But um, if you got the placard, be a good steward of it.
yeah. That's
Be-
back with don't care. That's my view.
don't care about you. Yeah. Be a good steward of it. But,
Yeah.
other than that, just be a good person. Um, Take away from this, if you're a new amputee, it's not the end of your life.
Yeah.
And if people stare, they're not staring at you. They're staring at something they don't understand.
Yep.
And imagine where you would have been a year ago before you became an amputee and you saw an amputee for the first time. Because I'm pretty sure, Josh, when you had your first thing cut off, you probably started seeing amputees everywhere, and you
Yep.
didn't see them before. And
Yeah. You didn't pay attention to it.
I've been in the military community. I know a lot of amputees that I never even knew were amputees. You just don't notice it. So don't be offended if people look. Don't be offended if they ask. Answer,
Exactly.
if somebody says, and I get it, it can be disheartening when somebody says, "Oh, after seeing you, I feel so much better." You know, if you help them see their life in a better light, let it roll off your back.
100%. 100%. Because, I mean, say whatever you want, I'm still going to get in my car and go on about my life. That's not going to affect me one bit. So,
Yeah.
hey, okay, cool. You know, make fun all you want or whatever. It is what it is. Who cares?
Only once has somebody made fun of me,
Really?
and that was a young punk who, I mean, this kid driving her dad's truck with a disabled veteran tag, parking in a handicapped spot, and I let her have it. And she called me a short, bald, fat, crippled guy. And I was like, God, if I could just know who that father is to go talk about the stolen valor his daughter just had, I'm
Yep.
pretty sure he would have, I would hope that he would have done something. So, sir, if you're watching,
Just in case
you
you
know,
want to, want to know, your daughter's a
you
dirtball.
just know this 16-year-old child was not the disabled vet that tag belonged to.
That's what, yeah, Backwoods was saying. Back to the spots thing. He's like, those spots are for actual handicapped people, not lazy people with a Twinkie addiction. Man, I 100% agree with you. And you're
Yeah,
all good, brother. Said, sorry, got me fired up. Dad always struggled with getting spots. Yep, it's it's a nightmare.
looking at me, you might say I have a Twinkie addiction right now, but I haven't walked in years. And what was amazing is they were force feeding me in the hospital because I lost over 100 pounds,
Yeah,
and they were making me eat like 5,000 calories a day or something crazy like
yep.
that.
Over
And then,
carbo load or whatever it's called.
yeah, then when
Something.
you get out of the hospital, your body's kind of like used to it.
Yeah.
And
And I've done that before too, and they're like, "Well, I know you're full, hun, but we're gonna need you to try." And they're offering just garbage, just pushing crap
yes,
on you.
you
It's
need to
just like we're
drink,
gonna
you
need
need
you
to
to try
drink and
for us.
ensure 3 times a day, and you need to eat they call them magic cups, ice
Yep.
cream that was like protein and carbs and like 400 calories for a little 1 cup or half
And they're
cup serving.
heavy, super heavy too.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
know those well.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've had them come in. All right, hun, we're gonna need you to, I understand it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna have to get you to come on. We got to eat it a little bit more for us. So it's just like, they're
Well,
like, you
one
can't
of
get
the
out of here
hardest
unless you
one of the hardest
do.
things when I first got released to eat, because they were tube feeding me
Mm,
through the trach. When I first got released to eat, my hands were still dead and my fingers were literally just curled up. Couldn't do
yeah,
anything with them. I couldn't move them. And I was too weak to even hold my head up. And they would come and put a tray in front of me and then come back an hour later and take it and be like, he didn't eat, and put it in my chart. I'm like, well, of course I didn't eat. Nobody helped me eat. I
oh my
can't.
God.
I can't do it. Why isn't your family here helping you eat? We live 77 miles away from the hospital. That's why. you know, Finally, one of the
Mm,
doctors wrote in my chart and he gave me a sitter to sit in the room with me all day to help me take a drink or to eat or
yeah,
do whatever. And that was, even though it only lasted about 5 days, that was probably the best 5 days of the entire 5 months because a doctor got it. And then when he was off the service, some other doctor was like, I'm not going to take that asset and keep him in Mr. Lee's room all the time. But there are patients who cannot do for themselves. And I couldn't at that point. I couldn't do for myself.
yeah,
And, you bring me the day that the occupational therapist brought a cup of chocolate pudding and a spoon with like this rubber thing that she stuck on the end of it. And then she stuck that between my thumb and the dead fingers and goes, eat. And I'm like, trying to eat. And I finally ate a bite. I'm like, whoa, my life just changed. I can eat. That was life changing. And she just thought outside the box. Every other occupational therapist and PT person that came in that room prior to that day was was a new one. I never had the same one twice, more than like a couple times. Can you do this?
Yeah.
Can you squeeze your butt cheeks? I'm
Yeah.
like,
I went
if
through and
you're,
I checked off my little list. I wanted to make
yeah,
sure that, everything. I asked him everything. I asked everything on my list that I had to say. So, all right,
yeah,
you have a
and
good day.
I
We'll see you at
made
3 o'clock.
no progress. And then I'll call her out. Her name was Siobhan, the OT. She went home and thought stuff, and then came back the next day. And was like, here, let's try this. And that started. Everything was downhill, 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 downhill. Like this train is going to get to the bottom of Saluda Mountain and it's going to crash.
Yeah.
To okay, all of a sudden we're starting to come up, and that turned the tide. That and Lori Cecil contacting me and saying I can teach you how to drive and I can help you learn how to brush your own teeth and shave. Simple things.
Give your life back,
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
not just my life. My wife and children got their lives back.
That's what I mean. That is
Them
your
not
life,
having to sit there. The fact that I can go and do a business trip, to try to get business for our family business alone is world changing. Their lives, our kids' lives were put on hold for a year. Yeah, they were still in school, but one of our doctors, one of our doctors, or our daughters rather, was just like, I've got to move into the dorm because there's just too much going on here. I can't study.
Yeah.
So what is Ms. Blackwoods is an OT. She starts from start to finish. The same OT needs to be there from start to finish. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, start to finish. Because when you have a
Yeah.
different
They need
person
to
every
sign
day,
off on, like,
yeah, yeah. And there was a guy who came in. It was an Indian guy. He was nice, but he was telling me about this super Indian diet that I needed to be eating, and I'm like, well, first of all, this is a Seventh Day Adventist hospital, so what you're telling me to eat isn't even allowed in here. you know?
I need you to help me. I don't need to learn about the latest thing you are reading about on Facebook, this new
Yeah,
diet that you're trying and you're trying to get everybody else
yeah,
on board with. That's
yeah.
that's cool for you, but I need help. Can you
Well,
offer
I
that
was
for me?
like, dude, I would love to have pork, but you're not getting it through the front door.
Yeah, right. That's like, yeah, that's like bringing a gun in the hospital. You don't do that.
Yeah, that actually on my floor, right after I got out, some of that happened in Daytona Beach. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, a wife went in and uh, mercied her husband. So yeah, don't bring a gun in the
Oh,
hospital.
oh
That
my.
I mean, all of a sudden one day, like you go back to the doctor to go to wound care, and they're like, no, you need to like get off your wheelchair and let us feel under your butt to see if you got something. I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously? you know, I'm gonna shoot somebody with these hands. you know?
Well, I mean, everybody, it could be any, you literally could be sitting on top of a bomb right now. I mean, not right now, but I'm saying like in that
Yeah,
scenario. They don't
yeah,
know, because people, they don't care about themselves in that kind of situation. It's just like, yeah, I know I'm going to blow up. Who cares?
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
I get it, but it's kind of hard when somebody's willing to go themselves. It's kind of hard to mitigate that.
right?
But yeah, I mean, we've digressed greatly, but um, all from did you bring up about the wheelchair? Um, Advocate for yourself. If you can't do it, have your parents or your wife, your husband, your kids
Yeah,
advocate for your loved ones. Um,
absolutely.
don't accept no.
No, no, definitely
Don't
not.
don't accept the status quo. Ask why. They tell you got to do something. Why?
Yep,
Why do you want me to do this? What are the reasons? Not that I'm being combative. I actually want to know what's my motivation. You're just telling me to do it. I have no motivation. But if
yep,
you're going to tell me, well, it's because it's going to do this, this, and this for you. Well, hey, that makes sense. Yeah, it hurts like crazy, but I'll do it.
absolutely.
So ask why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
self advocacy is the number one thing, man. Number one thing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what you feel except you. That's it. And if you don't speak up, they're going to assume everything's okay. So, well, Mr. James, I greatly appreciate you
Thanks,
coming on,
sir.
hanging out with us.
Appreciate it, Josh. Thanks for giving me a voice here.
Yes, sir, man. You're more than welcome to come back. Like I said, we probably won't be coming back for a season four in 2025 because we're literally, my wife is getting ready to pop any day. I mean, really, really soon, not any day. And so we're getting ready to have us a baby. And yeah, so that's going to really, really consume a lot of time. So I think I'm going to hold off on season four for the rest of this year and just kind of focus on that and, that kind of stuff. But when we come back for season four, I'd love to have you come back on. And, there's so much more that we can talk about. And there's, so many different subjects and things that we can get into. And, also do a wrap up show where I try to have people come back, and hang out with us, that kind of stuff. So, my brother, you're more than welcome to come back and hang out with us anytime you like. And you're always welcome here.
Hey, man, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Um, I greatly appreciate everything that you coming on, hanging out with us tonight. Everybody, please go check out No Limb Jim on YouTube, and you also have a ham radio channel, I believe. Is that it?
Our kids have a channel about ham radio called Ham Radio Dot. That's spelled DOT
Hmm.
World, and they're actually pretty famous with that. They've been licensed since they were in their single digits. Now
Good
they're all in
deal.
college. But yeah, that's what our family business is about: ham radio and communications and stuff like that.
Nice. That's awesome. My buddy Backwoods right here, he may be hitting you up. That's kind of his stuff. He loves that kind of stuff. So,
All right, man. Well, look up No Limb Jim on Facebook and send me a message.
all right, buddy.
If it, my actual Facebook account's kind of locked down, I think if only if you're a friend of a friend can you actually find me.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Understood. Second party stuff or whatever, two party or whatever it's called.
I don't know. A lot of my posts are public, but it's kind of hard to send me a friend request.
I see. Okay. All right, brother. We greatly appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us, and we will definitely be talking to you soon. All right.
Right? Thanks, Josh.
All right, bud. All right, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming and being a part of the show. Like I say at the end of every episode, you guys being here is keeping us afloat. It's letting us know that we are doing something good. We are helping people. We're trying to to not just necessarily spread a word about one subject. We're actually trying to do good things for people, help them out, maybe spread some information, things that they never thought about before, products they never heard of, that kind of stuff. And I think with me and my friends that come on the show here, I feel that we're trying to we do that best we can. And yeah, if there's anything about tonight's episode, any questions or anything that you guys have, any questions for Jim or myself, feel free to drop them in the comments. All of his links will be posted in the description of this episode, and that'll be for all of his YouTube channels, all that good stuff. And so you guys can still, keep in contact with him if you want to. So yeah, they're not there now, but they will be once this channel. I mean, once this stream is uploaded and everything's all said and done. Couple things I wanted to mention real quick is it is the Amputee Awareness Month, or Limb Loss Awareness Month. So if you've noticed everything that we have here tonight, we're all bright white and orange. So that is the official colors. But I have two of these bracelets that I'm hanging on to. That what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be putting a bunch of my bags, my bags that you guys have seen on community post, and I'll be putting a lot of those up for sale. And what I'm going to do is I have a few of these bracelets, and I'm just going to kind of randomly put one in a random order. So you never know. You may get one, may not. Who knows? Um, Tomorrow at 3 o'clock on this channel, we are having our virtual baby shower, and we will be just hanging out, playing a few games, kind of opening gifts, that kind of stuff, chit chatting with everybody, just kind of a fun live stream that, just us killing time and, hanging out. So that'll be tomorrow. And Tuesday, we have Mr. Cody David coming on the show, and he's going to hang out with us and explain a little bit about what he does. If some of you guys may have seen, he is the weightlifter gentleman that is on my shorts feed, where he takes the big old huge giant log and he's picking it up over his head. That's Cody. He's going to come on and hang out with us. Really funny dude, super outgoing, just, really, really entertaining guy. Um, and then for our season finale, we're going to have my good friend Stacy Hughes come back and hang out with us. Some of you guys remember Stacy. She had a baby, and she was going to come back and just tell us what it's like being an amputee mom, and is it any different? Is it way different? Who knows? But she's going to come on and give us more insight on that and kind of tell us a little bit, how things are going. Just get caught up with my friend Stacy. I don't really get to talk to her a whole lot anymore because life is just crazy busy. So any chance I get to talk to her, I'm going to take that opportunity. So, so there you go, guys. That's all the updates I have for y'all. Again, I want to sincerely thank every single one of you guys for coming. I want to thank Bulow Prosthetics for just being their amazing self. Hussein Lee Forearm Crutches, Furmu Eyewear, and just all of you guys for just being your simple, badass selves, for coming, being a part of these shows, asking questions, getting involved, and just simply being here, man. For that, thank you guys so much. Do me a favor, stay happy, safe, sane, motivated. Don't look back. Don't give a crap what anybody else says about you, because at the end of the day, it don't matter. We'll see you next time.